You know why I'm here. You like my product and you know what today is. Say it. Say what today is. It's Update Monday! It's Update Monday. What's going on with y'all, big dog? And it is an amazing day for Yu-Gi-Oh! I hope that your day, phenomenal. But if it isn't, don't let what happened at the beginning of your day ruin the rest of your day. Today for Update Monday, I want to talk to you guys about something special since it's been 1 year and 11 months of kicking rheumatoid arthritis' ass. What I really want to talk to you guys about today is look good, smell good, dress good, feel good. My guy, I promise you, there is a direct correlation with how you take care of your body to how you feel about yourself. So basically what I'm saying, Yu-Gi-Oh player that doesn't take too many showers, is wake your ass up, wash your ass, get a nice haircut because my barber came through, and do what it takes to make yourself feel good, because I promise you, your outlook will be so much more positive than if you just put on the same Doritos stained pants and didn't do anything to yourself. Trust me, my brother in Christ, I promise you, you'll feel so much better. Do what it takes to take care of yourself and everything will be all right. Kind of like the outlook that I think you should have on this format in YCS Peru completely changes Yu-Gi-Oh on its head. Now, I know some of my content creator colleagues will say, it's a really bad format. My guy, that is not winning mentality. Here's $100. Go clean yourself up, get a nice haircut, and come back when you realize that this format is fun and is what you make it. We are going to be talking about the course of events that happened over this weekend and how Yu-Gi-Oh has completely changed from down bad to pretty good. And what happened at this YCS not only further supports that claim, but also gives a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh players a breath of fresh air. You don't gotta play Castero to win, big dog. You actually can play what you want. I know it sounds weird, but I mean, hey, like, if you know how to play, you know how to play. So the first thing I want to talk to you guys about before we jump on into this meta-analysis, I really want to talk about how Konami be doing my Latin American boys dirty. My guys at the headquarters, your coverage on Latin America is atrocious. Konami got Latin Americans feeling out here like they're in the mountains with a 2005 Boost mobile phone. They're not getting any coverage anywhere whatsoever. You remember them chirp phones, dog? You remember the where you at? Konami got us down bad like that. I really wish Konami would step their game up when it came to actually covering YCSs in Latin America, because it's such a beautiful place down there and there's so many awesome competitive players that don't get the recognition they deserve because, I mean, they're too busy giving us shitty blogs. And the shitty thing about the blogs is that it didn't even cover that well. It didn't even let us know what topped. It was just, hey, such and such and so-and-so run this round. I'm like, okay. But fortunately enough, my boys in the Discord were able to scrounge as much information as possible, and we actually got some really cool results from there, and also some top cards that were being played inside of the top cut. Some of the top hand traps that we picked up from YCS Peru was almost a no-brainer. Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring has been continued to be one of the best hand traps inside of the game, and it's really because there's a ton of spell and trap cards in almost every single deck that Ash Blossom can interact with. I want you to think cards like Castira Theosis, Runic Fountains Effect to be able to draw, Branded Fusion, both the Welcome Labyrinth, Signet Mining, literally just about in any Yu-Gi-Oh matchup, Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring can hit an important spell or trap card to completely shut down your opponent before they can get going. And then it's always, yeah boy, yeah guy, the healthy rock in Nibiru. Now, I find Nibiru as one of the more complex interactions in Yu-Gi-Oh right now. It's like a super rock, paper, scissors, as Castira players have actually just been making a rise hard pass, and we'll talk about that in a little bit later. But the big game inside of the game right now in the Yu-Gi-Oh TCG, as opposed to what's happening in Master Duel and the OCG, as do you want to take the Maxi challenge? In the TCG, we have something called do you want to take the Nibiru challenge? almost every single one of the most powerful decks in Yu-Gi-Oh! In order to create your full board, your maximum power board, you gotta summon at least 5 times. And are you bold enough to risk your opponent having the ruck, or are you just gonna pussyfoot and not make the board you wanna make? My guy, you're on summon 5. Yeah, okay. So, on 5th summon, you bet not fucking have it. You bet not, you better not! My guy, Yu-Gi-Oh! Players are going big game hunting right now, having the end board being a nice, healthy Nibiru token, but there is counterplay to the Nibiru, which means just not summoning 5 times, but just like I said, there's answers for that. Players have also been playing cards like Book of Eclipse and Kaijus inside of their main board in side deck, and that allows them to be able to address your non-Nibiruable board like a Rise Hard Pass, and then still being able to play Yu-Gi-Oh! My guy, sometimes it's just damned if you do, damned if you don't. If you're playing a top deck, these are the problems you gotta deal with. I think it's really cool because it creates a back and forth where the top decks in Yu-Gi-Oh! Are being hindered by some of these cards in the game, which allows the other decks in Yu-Gi-Oh! To be able to thrive because those decks typically have a way to be able to play around those cards or are completely unhindered by the cards that I just said. It's like Konami took classes from video games or something and realized that you can make a meta by making a deck weak to certain. Oh my God, you're on to something. This ain't just a one-time thing, right? Like, we're not just gonna do it and then, not even hit me back. Now let's go ahead and move on to the topping decks. And again, Konami's coverage is so bad. I actually had to find this information from someone on Twitter. My guy, Top Deck TJ is more of a plug than Konami. This is ridiculous. Inside of Top 32, you're actually going to see a very diverse pool of Yu-Gi-Oh! Strategies. The first one I want to talk to you about is Outlich, and this build is toxic as all hell, but it does work. This Outlet strategy does avoid some popular cards like Kaijus, Nibiru to Primal Being, but it also trades its nobleness for a dark side, playing all of the floodgates in Rivalry, Skill Drain. There can be only one in Gozen match. I personally think that most floodgate Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards have no place in the game, especially when you can mesh all of them together inside of a deck, but that could be for a totally different video. Outlets can actually be pretty successful in Yu-Gi-Oh! Because it does avoid a lot of the cards that players are using right now to be able to counter some of the top decks, so it's really no surprise that this did make it in the top 32 cut. And that's pretty much what I mean about Yu-Gi-Oh! Being in a pretty good spot right now, as there are a ton of Yu-Gi-Oh! Strategies that can thrive under these certain circumstances and be able to play Yu-Gi-Oh! While the top strategies in Yu-Gi-Oh! Are rewarded for being the better strategies, but are still punished because there are so many great cards that can be used against them. Let's take a look at another top 32 deck list in Dragon Link. This was actually a fairly standard Dragon Link build, and I have to say that anytime hand traps are really good like Nibiru to Primal Being, Dragon Link is pretty good because it's a deck that can play around those cards like Nibiru and Ash Blossom, and Kaijuing, it do an okay job. Notice how this Rocket Dragon Link build does follow a trend that you're going to see Nibiru and Ash Blossom in the main board, Kaijus in the sideboard. Looking at the tier limit deck that actually topped, you're going to see the exact same thing, Nibiru, Ash Blossom, Kaijus. Tier limit actually has something that a lot of decks can't handle. A really genuinely busted field spell that allows you to be able to destroy cards on the field every time a tier limit monster is shuffled back into your deck. This particular build focuses on being able to get to that card as soon as possible, but it actually adds a little bit of spice into it, being able to summon into the fusion monster Grapha, which will actually trigger all of your Shaddoll and tier limit monster effects, but even has more spice inside of the sideboard, using Shaddoll Fusion to be able to send your Ishizu cards to the graveyard and summon Shekinaga to your side of the field. Now, there is still other ways to compete inside of the format, even if your deck may be a little bit weak to Ash Blossom and Nibiru. Plunder Patrol inside of the top 32, which can be hit pretty hard by both of those cards, shows that. Now, this particular Plunder Patrol deck is crazy. Top Deck TJ would never. This deck plays the runic cards to not only keep up tempo with your opponent and allow you to draw into your resources while disrupting, Plunder Patrol can still do its thing by negating or banishing your opponent's cards and cycling through its extra deck monsters for some huge plays. Moving on into top 8, and since we've seen Outlich, it's almost no surprise that Labyrinth is going to be able to make it inside of the top cut for almost the exact same reasons. Labyrinth can support floodgates like Skill Drain and Goes In Match, but since it plays actual trap cards too, it's a little bit more fair. This particular version of Labyrinth runs Red Eye's Dark Dragoon, and it's pretty fair as this deck does not use its normal summon whatsoever. It's actually pretty smart as Red Eye's Fusion can be used for Ash Blossom bait, but if it isn't, Red Eye's Dark Dragoon can protect your Welcome Labyrinth cards to be able to special summon monsters to your side of the field. Overall, I think that it was completely wild because inside of the top 4, there were 2 Sprite players, 1 Kashtira player, and 1 Solomon Great player. Top 4? Solomon Great got one of them too, so is it the best deck? Solomon Great topping in 2023 is the epitome of play whatever you want, my friend. If you're a good enough player and you follow the rules, you can win. The reason why I say this is because Solomon Great is naturally weak to Nibiru. Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring trades well with Cynet Mining, but it still topped. My guy Solomon Great was doing everything Yo Mama did and got the exact same results. A finish? This particular Solomon Great build not only ran an adventure engine in microcoder, it still focused on being able to make access code talker and OTK and did not focus on the Solomon Great trap cards. My brother, couldn't you have done this with Mathmech? Marincess? Ignister? Oh, you wild. You just choosing chaos today. I absolutely love how this deck does have its benefits outside of those other decks like Sunlight Wolf being able to fetch you Ash Blossom from your graveyard, and also your Solomon Great Circle can protect your Solomon Great monsters that can come up. Fortunately and unfortunately, both Kashtira and Solomon Great were booted out of the semifinals for Sprite to take first and second place. Now, as of making this video, we do not have the first place Sprite list, but let's go ahead and take a look at the second place Sprite list, which is a 50 card version and follows the exact same printables, my friend. Nibiru? Check. Ash Blossom? Check. Kaiju's not there, but Sprite doesn't really need them. This adventure Sprite deck played a ton of hand traps to be able to slow down the opponent and then let Sprite do its work. And since Sprite is just naturally resistant to cards like Nibiru because of Gigantic Sprite and Ash Blossom because there's not really anything to hit, Sprite is actually a very solid contender inside of the format. I personally think that Yu-Gi-Oh! Is in a really good spot right now, and if YCS Peru doesn't convince you that almost any deck can win, I pretty much don't know what will. You can say that X player got lucky or X deck didn't have to face another deck, but even over the course of the format, there have been so many instances where other decks have just been winning, like how I went undefeated with Ninjas or how I just got second place with Mathmech. I have to say, if you do look at the glass half full, then yes, you're in a Kashtira format. But if you look at the format for what it actually is, there's some really awesome decks that can play. But let me know down below in the comment section, what do you think about this Yu-Gi-Oh! Format and how has it been for you? Also, if you want to see more amazing CaliEffect videos, then be sure to check out these, as I'll catch you on the next one.